Perfect World Episode 204. Shi Hao was teleported out of the immortal Bone Land by a petal of the Great Tao Flower. He was immediately surrounded and attacked by a frenzied mob of sect leaders. At the critical moment, his Tao spirit, Lin Yu the Undying, and the Soul Beast Overlord came to his rescue. Picking up from the last episode, after Shi Hao gathered 9 sect leaders, the entire immortal Bone Land began to shake. A violent rumbling sound resonated throughout the heavens and earth. The massive crack in the void finally exploded, and the immortal Bone Land was completely connected to the outside world. The peaceful life of the natives was shattered. They could no longer stop the outside sect leaders from invading. Shi Hao asked several sect leaders to help him leave the immortal Bone Land. Suddenly, he was swept away by a divine light and disappeared before the eyes of the sect leaders. The 9 sect leaders were startled. They didn't know who had made the move. However, they quickly discovered that many such beams of light were filling the immortal Bone Land, carrying the 3,000 cultivators, who all disappeared. Apparently, the immortal Bone Land trial had ended. The 3,000 Great Tao Flower petals sent all the surviving cultivators out. The sect leaders and celestial beings who had broken in naturally noticed this as well. So, they gave up searching for opportunities and fortunes within the immortal Bone Land and rushed directly towards the 3,000 Great Tao Flower petals, preparing to ambush Shi Hao. Zhi Xian, Shi Wang, and the others were proven right. As soon as Shi Hao and his group emerged from the petal portal, a group of sect leaders descended from all directions. These people were incredibly powerful, able to treat vast distances as if they were mere inches, arriving in an instant. Their speed was no slower than the Great Tao Flower petals. A sect leader attacked, using their power to seal off the surrounding space, blocking everyone's path. Clearly, the outside sect leaders already knew that many people had gained great fortunes within the immortal Bone Land and were hiding amongst the crowd. Of course, their main goal was to capture Shi Hao, because he possessed the immortal scripture, the immortal seed, and even the great Luo immortal sword. Besides that, many disciples also held grudges against Shi Hao. They were eager to eliminate him immediately. After all 3,000 cultivators emerged, some sect leaders from major powers took away the cultivators from their own sections. During this process, the remaining people were scrutinized by numerous sect leaders and divine beings, who checked to see if they had any secrets. They wanted to examine everyone one by one. When someone recognized Shi Wang, he acted decisively, releasing the spatial artifact that contained the suppressed sea of undead. Immediately afterwards, Zhi Xian also swiftly acted, wielding the single horn of the heavenly foot ant to tear through the void and flee. Shi Hao held the spirit diagram in his left hand and the inverse dragon scale in his right, remaining cautiously alert, ready to escape at any moment. He never expected to be teleported by the Great Tao Flower petals. He had originally planned to rely on the power of several sect leaders to escape the immortal Bone Land. Not far away, a blue-haired man was also cautiously moving forward. When Shi Hao encountered him, they immediately recognized each other. This man was the heavenly demon, Guqian, whom Shi Hao had encountered upon entering the immortal Bone Land and who had been buried by dragon and phoenix droppings. Apparently, he had also awakened his heavenly eye and seen Shi Hao's true form. Shi Hao had the urge to silence him, but he was afraid of exposing his identity. So, he politely greeted the heavenly demon Guqian, saying, "Hey, brother, the one who got serviced by a dragon." Guqian's face contorted upon hearing this, and he almost burst into curses. He had been truly unlucky. Trying to seize an opportunity, he ended up buried under a pile of dragon and phoenix excrement, wanting to bang his head against the ground and die. Now, Shi Hao was bringing up the past again, enraging him so much that his veins bulged. Guqian said to Shi Hao sinisterly, "You'd better hand over the scriptures and immortal seed you got, or I'll immediately shout out that you're here." However, Shi Hao was not threatened at all. Instead, he shouted loudly, "The dragon phoenix droppings guy is here. He has the scriptures and immortal seed." Then, he took out a golden boundary-breaking talisman and instantly escaped along the void rift created by Zhi Xian. This was a divine talisman refined for him by several sect leaders within the immortal Bone Land. Even if ordinary sect leaders tried to confine the space, it would be useless. The power of the boundary-breaking talisman was astonishing. After Shi Hao left, a dragon's roar shook the heavens and earth. The terrifying Yinglong from before reappeared, and behind him followed Yazi, the nine-headed bird, and other powerful creatures. Clearly, Shi Hao's shouts had alerted him. Yinglong had originally intended to use the large crack to enter the immortal Bone Land and search for fortunes, but he had now changed his mind. He wanted to capture these geniuses from the outside world. The place instantly erupted into chaos. The heavenly demon Guqian and the other geniuses fell into Yinglong's grasp. The sect leaders engaged in a fierce battle with these powerful creatures. On the other side, after escaping a considerable distance with the boundary-breaking talisman, Shi Hao unexpectedly found his path blocked by another mysterious formation that disrupted the void. His escape route was cut off. Shi Hao discovered that he wasn't the only one. Other geniuses who had escaped earlier were also intercepted there. In fact, there were dozens of formations in this area, all set up by the various sect leaders' subordinates. Because this was the last time the immortal Bone Land would open, in order to prevent these geniuses from seizing the ultimate fortune, they spared no expense in using precious resources to set up formations to block everyone. One of the elders started laughing after seeing Shi Hao trapped. He was the guardian of the natural race. He had attacked Shi Hao several times before, but his horn had been cut off by Shi Hao's Tao spirit, leaving him severely injured and suffering a great loss. The natural race guardian said with immense joy, "Haha. The heavens have opened their eyes. I've finally waited for you." He continued, "Let me eliminate this future threat for my clan before I die." Shi Hao shouted, "You old geezer, how are you still alive?" He continued, "How can you utter such shameless words? Search your conscience and tell me, where have I ever wronged your natural clan?" The protector coldly replied, "Perhaps you once showed kindness to the natural clan, but to protect the natural clan, how can we allow you to continue growing stronger? Conscience and kindness? Discuss those with someone else in your next life." Hearing this, Shi Hao was furious, wishing he could immediately slaughter the old man. Meanwhile, the sect leaders of the Heavenly Kingdom and the Earth Nation arrived. Shi Hao stared at them coldly. He knew that the former Ghost Master had been assassinated by the Heavenly Kingdom. He knew that today's matter wouldn't end peacefully. The Earth Nation leader calmly said to Shi Hao, "The sacred ruin realm is quite impressive. To have such cultivation at your age, you truly are a peerless talent. But without becoming someone like us, you're ultimately just dirt. I could obliterate you with a single finger." A moment later, the Demon Dragon Sect, the Fire Cloud Cave, and the Swordbone Clan's experts also approached. Powerful sect leaders surrounded Shi Hao. He was trapped with no escape route. Meanwhile, in another direction, many sect leaders were filled with greed, their eyes set on the 10 Crowns King's World Tree sapling. The 10 Crowns King naturally wouldn't just sit and wait for death. He wielded the World Tree, piercing through the sect leader's formation, attempting to escape. But suddenly, a large hand descended from the sky, attempting to seize his World Tree by force. Someone recognized the hand as belonging to the master of the immortal tomb, known as the Lord of 10,000 Lives. His power was extremely formidable. Just then, a snow-white stone archbridge appeared. Someone quickly led the 10 Crowns King onto the bridge, and a cold voice said, "If this old man wants to take the 10 Crowns King away, do any of you have objections?" The old man was from the Earth Clan. Many people noticed the close relationship between the 10 Crowns King and him. Some speculated that the 10 Crowns King might be from the Earth Clan. As the stone archbridge vanished before their eyes, even the sect leaders of the immortal tomb didn't dare to pursue. Because at that time, no one dared to provoke the Earth Clan. They were one of the most powerful factions. Everyone was unwilling, but they could do nothing. They could only watch helplessly as the World Tree sapling was taken away. The sect leaders in the area then shifted their target to Shi Hao. The elder from the Fire Cloud Cave said to Shi Hao in a cold, eerie voice, "Little brat, hurry up and hand over the jade and the scriptures. We'll give you a quick death later." Clearly, with their strength, they could completely suppress Shi Hao and then seize his scriptures and immortal seeds. However, these people wanted to publicly humiliate him, forcing him to surrender everything himself. But Shi Hao would not easily compromise. He knew that even if he showed weakness, they wouldn't spare him. Because these were the most ancient lineages of the sinful province who had been working together to suppress the spread of sinful snow. The elder from the demon dragon sect struck first, slapping Shi Hao. Shi Hao summoned the myriad spirits diagram and used all his power to resist, blocking the attack. Everyone realized this was a supreme treasure. Its defensive power was astonishingly strong. Seeing this, the natural clan's protector extended a palm and grabbed at Shi Hao. With his other hand, Shi Hao took out the inverse dragon spirit strike, protecting himself. If not for the myriad spirits diagram's passive defense, Shi Hao would have definitely perished on the spot. The Earth Nation leader said coldly, "Don't damage my netherworld's heavenly god master." Clearly, in his eyes, Shi Hao was already a corpse, destined to be buried in the underworld. After countless years, a terrifying being who had cultivated 3 strands of immortal energy would awaken. At the same time, a shout came from the distance. Someone recognized Shi Hao. It was a middle-aged man. The newcomer was an expert from the Divine Temple. Shi Hao had known earlier that since he had killed the sect's ancient saint child, things would likely not end well. But even surrounded by a group of sect leaders, Shi Hao showed no restraint. He wouldn't easily submit. But plans never survive contact with the enemy. He had already successfully rallied 9 sect leaders to protect him and help him transcend. But unexpectedly, he was sent away by the immortal path petals, putting him in a desperate situation. Shi Hao didn't have a secret method like the 10 Crowns King's feather folding immortal technique. He couldn't break through the formation and create an escape route. Although the myriad spirits diagram in his hand was extraordinary, it could only offer passive defense. It couldn't resolve the crisis. At this moment, the Western sect leader arrived. He stared at the myriad spirits diagram in Shi Hao's hand and said, "If I'm not mistaken, this should be a part of the primordial true scripture." As soon as these words about the myriad spirits diagram were spoken, the sect leaders exclaimed, "Excellent. This is very good. In that case, the few good things on him are enough for us to split." The natural clan's protector, worried about further complications, told everyone to finish him off quickly to avoid any unforeseen circumstances. Everyone attacked together, suppressing Shi Hao. The myriad spirits diagram glowed, summoning various bone beasts to resist the large hands. Shi Hao coughed up a mouthful of blood, his body nearly shattering. Even though the myriad spirits diagram was extraordinary, Shi Hao hadn't reached the sect leader level. So even with several supreme treasures, he was severely injured by the group. Shi Hao used the myriad spirits diagram as a shield and rapidly charged towards the void, but he was quickly blocked by the formation. The sect leaders calmly walked over from behind, not afraid of him escaping at all. They were certain that Shi Hao had no chance. The Earth Nation leader extended a large hand, shattering the void and sending Shi Hao flying once again. Then he commented, "Not bad. This physical body is quite strong. It's the strongest physique I've seen at this realm. It will surely become an invincible god master in the future." Clearly, the Earth Nation leader's casual attack was purely to humiliate Shi Hao, treating him like merchandise to be appraised. The elder from the roving True Valley stepped forward and said, "Don't waste any more time. Just slap him to death. It saves us future trouble." The roving True Valley was also one of the lineages suppressing the sinful province. Therefore, they absolutely couldn't allow Shi Hao to rise. With a loud slap, Shi Hao was sent flying once again. If not for the myriad spirits diagram protecting him, he would have been reduced to dust. At this moment, Shi Hao was incredibly furious. A mysterious ancient talisman appeared in his hand. He had discovered it years ago around 3 worlds pass. Back then, Shi Hao didn't know what the ancient talisman was for, so he had kept it until now. He used it without reservation, secretly hoping it would have a powerful effect. Sure enough, after a sharp divine light shot out, the roving True Valley elder's body was pierced on the spot. blood flowed out. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. A mere brat had actually severely injured a sect leader. In fact, Shi Hao was also shocked. This ancient talisman was indeed strange. He looked closely and found a crack on it. Apparently, it could be used a few more times. The other sect leaders didn't dare to be careless anymore. So they all attacked, using their magical powers to kill Shi Hao. The Divine Temple expert activated the 9 Heavens True Earth scripture. A massive divine eagle surged forward like a tsunami. Shi Hao immediately started bleeding from his 7 orifices, his body trembling violently. Originally, Shi Hao wanted to use the ancient talisman again to counterattack. But unexpectedly, other sect leaders also attacked, wanting to seize all the treasures on him. This put Shi Hao in a desperate situation. He couldn't even stand against one sect leader, let alone several all attacking him at once. Shi Hao was critically injured, covered in blood. The natural clan protector laughed loudly. A beam of light shot out from the horns on his head, striking Shi Hao. Instantly, countless bones in his body broke. Then, the Singing Devil tribe, the Yuan Shousi, and other factions also attacked, wanting to plunder Shi Hao's treasures. Someone said, "As for me, I only want that myriad spirits diagram. The rest is yours." Everyone could see that the white bone diagram was invaluable because Shi Hao had relied on this bone diagram to survive being besieged by so many sect leaders until now. Suddenly, violent fluctuations came from the void. Like dumplings falling from the sky, a dense rain of corpses plummeted down. In that instant, the eyes of all the sect leaders present widened because those corpses belonged to the disciples of their lineages. At the same time, a middle-aged man in a golden robe descended from the sky. Someone gritted their teeth and recognized him as Shi Daolin, who had entered the Forbidden Zone. Shi Daolin replied, "That's right. It is I." He then swept his gaze across everyone and continued, "Have you all forgotten what I said? If any old fool dares to harm my disciple, dishonorably harms my disciple, I will exterminate that clan's elite descendants." Just then, a shout came from a bronze palace in the distance. "You dare show yourself alone?" But as soon as those words were spoken, a 10,000-foot-tall being unfurled golden wings and arrived, blotting out the sky. The newcomer was the Undying Being. He declared domineeringly to the sect leaders, "I said before that whoever dares to cause trouble, I will kill." The Undying Being then opened his massive hand, and a group of heavenly god corpses fell. They were all experts from the sects present. Seeing Shi Daolin and the Undying Being arrive to rescue him, Shi Hao's eyes welled up. His heart surged with emotion. He hadn't expected that at this critical juncture, these two powerful experts would stand up for him against the enemy. The sect leaders were now covered in blood, grievously injured. Besides feeling moved and reinvigorated, Shi Hao was also filled with immense rage towards them.